Hey everyone, I just want to say don't be surprised if you hear me breaking out in Christmas song, because I was just listening to some Christmas music on the radio, and it is that time of year, real time, it is that time of year, leading up to anyways Christmas time. Now unfortunately the subject that I'm going to be talking to you about today is not going to be as joyous as the whole festivities of this time of year. Because what I want to talk to you about is what I'm seeing, what I'm observing in the used boat market. And unfortunately, it does not look very positive. Now, the reason I say that is because, as you guys know, I'm always looking at used boats. Sea Race in particular, of course. Yeah, and one boat that I was looking for to share some photos with you is going to be the next one in my series about the boats we may want to buy. In fact, the next boat in the series is going to be a boat that we're not going to buy, but I'm going to tell you why, and I want to outline it. Now, unfortunately, that particular model of Sea Ray, I'm having a hard time finding some decent quality photos of the boat to share with you, to point out a few things that were, a few things that we didn't like. But anyways, as always, I'm going way off on a tangent. But what I'm getting to is, because of my efforts of scouring the interwebs, looking for this particular model of Sea Ray, I've of course come across a lot of used boat websites. Unfortunately, but not without any real surprise to me at least, is I've seen a lot of boats marked down, more so than I've ever seen in many years of looking at used boats. As you know, like I just said, I'm always looking at used boats online, just to, keep my finger on the pulse of the used boat market. And what I'm seeing now is way more reduced prices on boats, or at least listings that are showing reduced or price drop or whatever that they are saying in the listings, way more than I've ever seen in the past. Of course, over time, if you look over a number of years, you will see the odd boat, the odd listing that says, reduced price or price drop, or however they're wording it, but not as prevalent as I am seeing now. Now, if you want to look into that yourself, it's as simple as going to Yacht World. Go to yachtworld.com, and you will probably notice that there's a lot of them. They have a little price drop with an arrow going down on these. Now, unfortunately, it's not like the real estate market, and I'm going to touch on that in just a second as well. Whereas a lot of the listings for a house that's for sale, a resale house, most times it'll show when that property was listed, when it came on the market, so you can see if if the house has been listed for a week, 2, 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it is, and that will give you a general indication as to if that house is overpriced or not, bad area, whatever it is. But you would have to dive down deeper into that. But like I say, unfortunately, most boat listings will not give a date of when the boat was listed. However, if you have a keen eye, you can find out that information on your own. So what I have seen, apart from these listings that are showing reduced price or lowered price or whatever that they're saying, is that if you dive deep into some of these listings, you can see that the salesperson put right in the description of the boat, new to market in July or new to market in August. So extrapolating from that, one could assume that that's when the boat was listed. So what I'm getting at is that there have been a lot of used boats that have been reduced in price, or there's just staying on the market and they're not moving. So what does real estate have to do with falling boat prices? I'll tell you this about that. Unfortunately, through that whole COVID pandemic, whatever happened there was a lot of people who found that they had to, they wanted to move out of the cities. Okay, so they want to move out of the cities. So they wanted to move out of the cities just to get away from all the sick people. I think that was the big issue with them. And add to the fact that back in those days, governments were giving money away. I think you could get a mortgage back then for in around 1%, maybe a little bit over 1 point whatever. You can look it up. So just over 1%. So it's basically free money. So a lot of people took those variable rates because then they could get a much bigger mortgage, and then by extension maybe a bigger house, right? Or just bid the price up a lot more. because their monthly payments were lower. So many people unfortunately took these variable rates. Well, those variable rate mortgages had a term of maybe 3 years, maybe 4 years, maybe less. So a lot of them have become due for renewal recently over the last number of months, and going into next year there's even going to be more. So that means a lot of people are having to refinance at a much higher rate and locking it in. So now you have a whole bunch of people that are struggling financially just to keep their home going. And if those people own a boat, like the boat are toys, right? You don't need a boat or a snowmobile or necessarily have to go on these trips, go away, go down south for the winter. So these are the things that people will cut out of their buying habits, or at least they should. If they're responsible, they'll try to get rid of these things. The person who has a mortgage that they can't afford, got to sell the boat. What's the boat selling for? X amount. Well, we're going to go X less this amount. And again, that is just going to drive the boat prices down. And that's going to continue, my friends. Unfortunately, sadly, and don't trust me on this, don't believe me, keep an eye out for yourself. I called this back at the early part of the summer that this is going to happen and this is going to affect boat prices. And I predicted that boat prices will drop by this time this year, again, the end of 2025, and even more so into next year. However, that doesn't appear to be the case. The case appears to be that there's so many people who are in a bad way for whatever reason, and they're just telling their seller, their broker, salesman, whoever's got the boat for sale, drop the price, drop the price, drop the price until it's sold. We got to get out of this. I had actually anticipated for that whole scenario to play out next spring, but it's accelerating just because if you watch the news, there's some people in the world that are making really poor decisions which are affecting the whole freaking world. But let's not get into that either. So what is happening is there's a lot of people who are suffering financially, and they're looking at, potential job loss or whatever it is. So they have to make these hard decisions and sell their boats. Fair enough. So for those people, if you only have to sell your boat to get out of your financial situation, sell the boat. So after my highly scientific analysis of what I just told you, I am going to suggest that July here in Ontario, and probably a lot of North America, was the tipping point in the used boat market. And when I say tipping point, that was the area where people just said, no, not going to buy it. And so that's when I'm going to again guess that started really impacting on boat prices. So if you go yourself onto these boat brokerage websites and see that there are so many listings that are showing price reduced, price lowered, price adjustment, price correction, whatever the hell they're calling it, drop price, lowered price, you will see probably more than you've ever seen those over the last number of years. However, that said, if you have a boat that you can't afford for whatever reason, you're going to have to make some hard choices and just sell the boat for what it's worth. And what it's worth is only not what you think, it's what people are willing to pay for it. And that's it. It's a simple fact. You can stand up all day long and jump up and down and wave your hands and say, my boat is worth this. If it ain't happening and you're not getting any offers, it ain't worth that. Yeah, so that just has a psychological drain on the whole market, because of people who are seriously looking to buy a boat and are interested and they're seriously shopping around. If they keep going to these boat for sale listing places and they keep saying price drop, lower price, reduced price all across their website, it would be a reason for people to pause their potential buying thought, because you know what, it's the herd mentality and it's the herd effect that say, well, holy smokes, if all these boats are dropping all across the board and everybody's reducing the prices, what's happening that I don't know about, or that's something that I might be scared about? So that will just cause people to pull away from a potential purchase. So keep that in mind. So unfortunately, for a lot of people who are stuck in this market right now, that they think they have to sell the boat, they would be probably better off taking it off the market. Don't use a broker in the spring. Selling it privately, but drop the price to wherever it's going to go. Because ultimately, whatever you think that boat is worth now, after you take off your brokerage fees, winter storage, insurance, on and on and on, and then coming into next spring, you have launch fees, summarizing fees for somebody who can't do that on their own, and then having that boat be worth less money, because it's going to be worth less money. If it's not selling this year, it's not going to be worth any more next year, and it will sell for a lot less money. To these people who are stuck in this situation, I would say avoid the heartache. Bite the bullet and say, the boat's got to be sold for, a price that we can accept. And when I say accept, what the market's going to accept, and hopefully things will turn around. It's all tied to the real estate market. I remember friends of ours back at the end of 2020, he wanted to sell their boat and cash in on the crazy prices, which he ultimately did, because he said, you know what, boat prices are already going to start to fall, and then I'm going to buy that next boat, and I'm going to get a bargain on it. And I told him then at that time, I said, boat prices aren't going to drop significantly until there's a correction in real estate. When you see house prices dropping precipitously, then you will see boat prices dropping equally. Here we are 5 years out, where the real estate market is it's hurting here in Ontario, and it's sadly, I think real estate prices aren't going to rebound for probably 2 to 3 years, maybe longer. And so by extension, let's go back to the boats. It's probably going to be the same in the boating market, unless it is, that crazy deal, a super low hour boat that I told you about before, or something that it's just a boat that somebody has to have. I don't think we're going to see those used boat prices for a long time, if ever, again. And so we are probably in a downward market again for probably another 2 years in used boat prices. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm just going by what I've witnessed over the years and what I have come to realize and understand and see with my own eyes recently in the used boat listings. All right. And one final thought. I hear a lot of people saying, oh, that boat's going for blah, blah, blah. It's going for this amount of money and not. No, you can't say that. I think a lot of people, they look online, they will look at boats and say, oh, they're asking this amount for that boat. They're, those boats are going for this amount because that's what all the asking prices are. No, they're just that, asking prices. They're not selling prices. You have to find out what the selling prices are. Just keep an eye on those asking prices to see if they're dropping and take another 10% off of whatever that asking price is, 20, 30, I don't know, 40%, whatever. It depends on the situation for the person. Yeah, so that's it for this one. I hope I haven't bummed you guys all out. I promise the next one, even though it's going to be about a boat that we're not going to buy, it may be a little bit more enlightening and a little bit more positive. All right. So until then, I'll look forward to your comments, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers.